Val Emmons Show, where freedom is cool and political correctness is for sissies.
Hello, everyone. This is Val Emmons, and I'm broadcasting live with Casey Bell. And Matt, I'm sorry I didn't get your last name.
Johnson. It's not the one, 1986.
Okay. So right now we're doing a Google Hangout chat that's live, and I wanted to record it, and we're going to do that for my show tonight because I wanted to get some interaction. We're going to talk about, Second Amendment rights and some Obamacare, and so we have some viewers, right, Casey?
Yeah, we got looks like we got 4 right now.
Okay. So you want to get started on and we'll go from there?
Yeah, we can get started on the topics. Let me pull up the event calendar.
I thought this was a great way to do some, get Casey some exposure for his online shows. And
I'm getting your recording. Oh, never mind. I got it. I got the chat window up. Let's see. All right, I guess we can talk about first. What you want to talk about first? The gun rights or the Obamacare?
It's your baby, man.
All right, let's start off with the gun rights.
all right.
What I wanted to say on it was, the issues we're having today. We got the Act 746. We got some guys, and certain counties. Let me take this off.
You talking about the SAFE Act?
No, we're talking about the Arkansas one where people are open carrying.
Open carry.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some prosecutors have decided that they're not going to prosecute people for open carrying. In other places, they're saying, you're subject to be arrested. And it's just, I'm trying to think, how come we can't get the freedom and liberty back like we're supposed to have, where really you should be able to open or conceal carry without any kind of permit or legislation saying that it's good to go.
And I know there's been several open carry walks across the state as well. I think down by Fayetteville and Rogers, and then there was just one not too long ago in Saline County. So, and the prosecutors didn't arrest. They didn't. The sheriffs even didn't charge anyone or didn't arrest anyone. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a good step. But I want to get us to the level where we're at, like Virginia or Nevada or Arizona, a lot of states where you can open carry and it's not a big deal. Versus you got people here who complain about it like, oh my gosh, people are going to be shooting each other over parking spots. Or you get into an argument.
Like they couldn't already.
Right.
Right.
You get into it at Starbucks and then people are going to be dueling it out or Wild Wild West, all that trash.
Right. And I raised this question. I guess it was about back in March when I had Dr. Lott on, John Lott. And I thought, here's what I said, because I was kind of wrong. I was like, that's awesome if we could have open carry, because then I could walk in and nobody would mess with me because they see I have a gun. And he made something very something that I never thought about. He said, but that's not what would occur, because you would be the first target, because the criminal would see that you had a gun and he would want to take you out first. So it isn't always about people seeing you having a gun and, I'm not going to mess with them person. Because you'd be the first person they took out because you were threatening.
Yeah, a lot of people feel the same like that.
But I didn't think of it that way. But
I support open carry, the legalization of it, just because it makes sense and it makes things easier. Say you're in a place where only concealed carry is legal, and you're concealed carrying, and your shirt comes up, over your weapon, or you're getting it out, transitioning carry, your carry method when you're getting in and out of your car. Technically you're breaking the law. That makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. You should be able to carry regardless of if someone can see it or not.
Or, like me, I open carry as part of my job, and then, I'm up.
We got some technical difficulty, and we'll get back on here in a second here. sometimes that happens.
It doesn't make sense at all. Looks like you got do you have like slow internet?
No, I don't know. We're just having issues for some reason.
Yeah.
There we go.
Did you hear the last part of what he said?
No, I didn't.
He was talking about if he. Go ahead and tell it again.
I was saying that I open carry as part of my job, and it doesn't make any sense for me to have to take my gun off and stick it in my trunk to drive home.
When you're off of work, yeah, exactly.
When, as a private citizen, I carry everywhere I go.
Right.
I should be able to carry on my way home from work, too.
Right. Because you've been trained.
Without having to take it out of my holster that I use for work and put it into a concealed carry holster. It's just a pain in the ass.
Right. Right. I completely agree. I totally agree.
I should be able to get out of my car and pump gas or something like that,
And Casey? We know how you feel. I said, we know how you feel, Casey. But let's hear it again.
Open carry, it needs to be universal. It needs to be, round the way. No permit. We need to do it like the way the Constitution says. The right of the people to keep and bear arms will not be infringed. There's a lot.
I think that's you guys having trouble because you cut out on me. Love technology, but then sometimes it's not that great. Let's see. Let me.
Good and well, they're going to assume every person is armed until they can prove otherwise.
Right.
So that should be a non-issue.
They need to.
Right.
It's, you could say that anything, just about anything, was an officer safety issue. You could outlaw screwdrivers and say that someone could have a hidden screwdriver to stab a cop with.
Well, even who says that a police officer is the best person to have a gun? Ed and I talked on my show before about, police officers, sometimes they're just people that have been given a gun. And sometimes they're not the best people to have that gun. True, you can, like Ed said, he's a great shot before he's a police officer, but
right.
That's not the case for everybody.
And Ed, remember that flyer I gave you about the training school? He's a cop and he runs that. Yeah, he runs that training school.
Okay.
Last resort firearms. Yes, Ed's
right,
awesome.
Last resort firearms. Yeah. So he's standing on both sides, having experience and training beforehand, and still being actively involved in it. And we need more people like that who are actually in it to come out and speak against all of these gun control and regulations.
Yes.
And he does.
And when I had to meet him and I saw his presentation, that was a good patriot talk right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was good stuff all around.
Yeah, Ed's a great guy, and he does a lot of training for active shooter training. He does all kinds of training, and he says that, like you said, your first defense is you, not the police. And that doesn't mean when you're just at home. That's everywhere. You could be out in your car. So how can you defend yourself? Did I tell you, Casey, that when I went to D.C., not this trip, but the last month, that I almost got arrested for having mace? You have to register mace.
Obligation to come help you when you're in trouble.
Right.
So it falls on every individual to be responsible for their own personal safety.
Yep, the police come after a crime has been committed.
Right.
To write the report.
Right, exactly. Not to defend you, but to write the report.
So,
did you hear what I said a while ago, Casey, about when I was in D.C. this last month, not this week, but last time, I almost got in trouble for having mace in my purse.
I saw you posted a link. Yeah, you got to register your pepper spray.
You have to register your mace, yes, in D.C. I was appalled. I was like, I looked at the security lady. It was at one of the, I believe it was the Capitol Visitor Center because we were going in to speak with the congressman. But and we were taking that route. But she goes, okay, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to throw this away. And I looked at my purse and I was like, it's mace. And she was like, yes, I'm going to have to ask you not to take it out of your purse, but to walk over to the trash can and throw it away. I said, but how am I supposed to defend myself? She said, ma'am, if you don't, I'm going to have to call this in and you're going to be detained. And I went and looked it up, and you have to register your mace in D.C. That is so stupid.
On record. I mean, this is I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to do what's called a screen share so people can see it who are watching the chat. You have to register your mace, and you have to register empty brass and ammo.
Yep.
D.C. The District of Criminals, by the way. They call it that because it's supposed to be, the capital of the nation, but really it's the capital of infringement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Across the board.
I've realized that every time I go there, something else. And I'm thinking to myself, am I the only person that notices these things? I mean...
And the Supreme Court has already come down and said that those laws are unconstitutional, but the District of Columbia is still enforcing them.
Right. Heller versus D.C. was 5 years ago.
That's what I was about to say. Oh, you can only defend yourself in your own home. Really?
Right. And it's like when I had the chance to speak with Emily Miller when she called into the show that day, she wrote that book, Emily Gets Her Gun, but Obama Wants to Take Yours. It spoke on about having to register your brass, and there's 17 different steps to legally own a firearm in D.C. 17 different steps.
They're hoping that you won't go through with all of them.
It just goes to show, how much some of these city and state governments have so little respect for our constitutional rights.
Exactly.
Right. And the other argument I can make, if public servants work for us, how is it possible that a person that is serving the public has more rights than the people that serve? That doesn't make sense. If you can open carry or conceal carry any time because of your job title, why can't I open or conceal carry because of being a citizen?
Oh, and not only that, but look when Dianne Feinstein bought those guns and had help from the police chief to obtain those guns that were illegal in D.C., and yet she didn't even get in trouble for it.
Exactly.
That's insane.
Or who was that news anchor that came on? He came on MSNBC and he had a 30-round mag in D.C.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're government officials, and it's okay because they're above the law.
Right. Unless you're the political elite, and then you still ain't getting a concealed carry. You're just getting able to have a gun at home.
At home, because like when you're out in public in D.C., one of the most dangerous places ever. Because, right after...
you have a bodyguard, too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, though. But that's the thing. You're exactly right, Matt. The people that are making these laws do have bodyguards, and they do have security, so they're not worried about you and me walking down the street. Do you know, though, a New York legislator, I guess it was like the week after I was there last, she got knocked out by the knockout game. And they knocked her out on the ground and then took her purse, and then they investigated this.
Right. Then, if you're the political elite, you're treated like a god. So
exactly.
It's like, okay, we're going to look at this now. Now we're going to shine a light on this. Now we're going to pay attention. But they've already killed 7 people on record.
But because she was a legislator, let's take a look at it.
Right. Let's look at it now. Let's look at it for what it is. But the video I did, I think it's been about 10 days now. It's got, 1,200 or 1,500 views on the knockout game, where I show the guy in Michigan who tried to tase a CHL holder at a bus stop. He's waiting for his 6-year-old to get off the bus. He sticks something in the guy's side. The taser malfunctions. He pulls out his 9mm and he pops him twice. And then the guy's sitting over there laying, crying, "Oh, please don't hurt me. I was just playing, Then,
I'm sorry. Please don't kill me."
Right.
I was just playing. Yeah, now you're just playing.
And I've invited some people purposely who don't like guns. They hate guns. And I wanted them, I'm like, debate me on a public forum plenty of other times. And I'll show them instance after instance after instance. Would you rather this person have been unarmed? Hey, your back door's getting kicked in. Would you rather have a gun in your hand or a Kabul Funko? They don't want to debate.
No, they don't, because they know that they got nothing to debate.
Or they say, well, let's have a gun buyback. I'm like, okay, you think a criminal who uses the gun
is gonna sell
to commit crimes is going to sell the gun at a buyback? If
Yeah.
he's going to take a dirty gun that he's committed 10 murders with, he's going to sell that thing.
Yeah. So he can be implicated, right? And
Right.
the thing about it is that law-abiding citizens are the ones that register their guns. They abide by the law. They get their concealed carry. The criminals don't, and they don't buy a gun legally either. And I get so irritated, like after the Sandy Hook stuff. I know you said we were going to talk about that, so I'm just going to start that. But after the Sandy Hook stuff, it was crazy because it turns out that Adam Lanza was a nutcase. I mean,
Right.
It wouldn't have mattered if he had a gun or he could have strapped a bomb to himself and walked in that school. It does not matter if you're mentally ill and you're setting out to kill people. You're going to accomplish your goal, regardless of if it's a gun or not.
Right, and here's the other thing, which I like to talk about. Being disarmed and being defenseless does not equal safety.
Did you listen?
I cannot
Yeah.
get this through people's head.
Did you listen to those calls, Casey?
What's that?
Did you listen to those 911 tapes that they just released? And I don't think that, like, I played them on one of my podcasts a couple of days ago, and I didn't find any of them that disturbing enough for them not to be released over the last year. I don't know if they were scrubbed or what, but they weren't disturbing. But however, if those folks would have had access to a gun, they wouldn't have needed. I mean, they would have needed to call afterwards, but they could have took this kid out.
Right, but you don't want people to say that. Being secure and having adults and people who are able to defend themselves, that's racist, and that's you can't talk about that, or it's Bush's fault. Anything other than somebody actually being responsible, able to take charge. They don't want to hear that.
They don't want you to take charge. They want you to be dependent on the government for everything.
Right, and the thing is, there was no legal precedent for them to hold the 911 tapes.
No, there wasn't.
Right, and even so, it's not very conclusive. I'm a person who, I'm not afraid to say it. I made videos about it. I feel like as if there's a great possibility that the whole thing itself was a false flag.
And a lot of people feel that way too.
Right.
I haven't followed it closely enough to, speak much to it, but it seems that way to me, and I think there's been a lot of that going on since 9/11.
I think, I don't know if it happened or if it didn't. It's just so many different things that go, that are either weird coincidences, and not to mention the way that the one father acted right before the press conference announcing, talking about his daughter that had just been massacred, and he was laughing, and just that alone was just very, very disturbing to me.
Yeah, and the most damning thing to me is that in the interviews and footage of the aftermath of these mass shootings and like the Boston bombing and stuff like that, you can see some of the same people.
Right.
Right.
The victims and the families of the victims and stuff. They're actors. They're the same actors at these different events. That is what really makes it look like it's all staged.
Well, you should listen to those tapes because they don't sound.
I should.
They don't sound. And I've posted them on my page, so you can go and find them there at www.facebook.com/Val Emmons, and you can find them there too. But I posted them, and I can't see withholding them because they are just not even. They're not even. Like, they're not pleading for their lives or anything like that. They sound maybe a little bit out of character and a little bit, but not like desperation. Like I would be freaking out. I'd be like, damn, somebody's shooting, get out here. I'd be freaking out, or, I mean, they're not like that.
They release them because they don't exist. They have to tape them later.
Yeah, could be.
Because look at it like this. I don't know, a lot of people, either they don't know or they don't want to acknowledge. I mean, there's articles out here. Crisis actors exist.
All right,
they work
right.
with DHS and, DHS and the military to provide realistic simulations of training and active shooter events. They even have amputees that work with them who, have lost their limbs or different things in different incidents. So that's not a conspiracy. The fact is...
Not a conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's not a conspiracy theory. No, yeah, they exist. So I don't even think people really acknowledge the fact that they exist in the first place, even though you can type it in right now, crisis actors. You can go to the website, crisisactors.org.
And they said, and they said that a lot of these people were crisis actors, and it's such a coincidence that so many of them had, had a connection with the school.
Right, and it's like, what's so weird? I mean, you think about what's a busload of children going to be dropped off at some random
guy's house, right?
This defies all common sense and logic.
I know. I saw that too, and I was like, really? That's just insane to me. There's a lot of different.
And if school was in, why was a bus full of children still riding around anyway?
See, I don't really know what y'all are talking about right now.
Well, apparently there was this guy that lived close to the school, and he said that some lady dropped off the kids with him and said, take care of them, there's a shooting at the school. Now, why would you this guy could have been a child molester, why would you just drop them off at some, and then it turns out the guy was lying, and none of these kids knew him. It's just crazy.
The whole thing stinks.
Yeah.
And
but if you say that, you're heartless. I was always a heartless bitch, because those are children. That's why they use children. That's why they use children.
Let's do it for the children. If we can just save one child's life, doesn't that make it worth it?
Right.
I say, fuck that. I don't want to save one kid. I want to go in there with my gun and save them all.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
If more people had that attitude, this country would be a safer place.
I agree.
Gun control isn't going to make it a safer place.
By no means. It's going to make it safer for the government to do whatever the hell they want to do.
Right. So, let's talk about Obamacare. We might come back to this again.
Oh, hell no.
Have you been affected by this Obamacare personally?
I haven't really that much.
Well, in my day job, my boss did tell us that this year she's going to pay for our insurance, and next year we'll have to look at it. She always pays 95% of our insurance, and which is great, but I didn't always have that luxury. I've only worked there for almost 5 years, but I didn't have that luxury, and I earned it. I earned having someone pay for my health care, because for a long time I didn't have it, and that was a perk of getting a good job to me. Which to me, but at the same time, I don't feel it's my employer's responsibility to cover my insurance. That is a perk of getting a decent job and busting your ass to get there. It is not, and where this all started, I don't know, where it's the responsibility of the employer to cover you. But I've had a lot of, because I'm in the healthcare arena for, that's what we do. We manage associations, and I don't like to bring that into what I do politically because they are non-biased. But that's kind of where my background is right now. And there's so many things about Obamacare that are just absolutely insane. Like the website is not even secure at all. And people are going out there putting their information into it. And hackers, it's known that hackers are taking that information. And secondly,
it's on record. They've come out and said that the website is not secure.
Right. And then people just keep putting their information into it. And then I also heard that, all those 15 million people that lost their health insurance because those plans are no longer enforced, because you can keep your health care if you want to, your plan. If
it's still offered.
Right, exactly. He left that kind of part out. Well, this is what I heard, that Obama is saying that now he's going to offer subsidies to those people, for those insurance companies, to give them back their plan at the rate that it costs them now, but we taxpayers are going to pay to make up, and so they only have to pay what their previous plan was. How can he do that? How can he do that constitutionally?
With the left hand, and you're putting it in your right hand.
Right.
But I heard that they weren't going for that deal that he was proposing anyway, so I don't know.
But I mean, how can you even think of that you can do that? That has to be approved by Congress. Regardless of right.
It's supposed to be approved by Congress.
Well, I was the other night I was and I was watching C-SPAN, and they were doing the president constitutional a hearing, and they had brought in these constitutional specialists, and they were like, how can this president get away with this? And the one was a liberal, you could tell, and he was like, I disagree that that's even unconstitutional. And then the other guy was just looking at him going, are you insane? You're supposed to be a specialist on the Constitution, and you're only trying to make Obama not look bad. That's just stupid. There's so many things that he's doing right now that are unconstitutional, that are supposed to go through Congress. That's why Congress was given that power. If you make a law, it's the law of the land. Remember, it's the law of the land. You can't just go saying, well, I'm going to, for a whole year, the small business people, they don't have to pay. That's like saying, okay, small business people had a bad year this year, so you just don't have to pay your taxes this year. You can't do that. Only Congress can do that because they are charged with tax. That's it. That making tax laws. It's just insane to me what we're allowing this president to get away with.
And that's exactly it. We're allowing it because the government has been doing so many things that they don't have the constitutional authority to do for over 100 years. You know, right. and it's because we let them.
And because we let them. People only do what you allow them to do.
That's crazy. I mean, the way it is, the nation is just going down. We're in a decline. I mean, everything is pretty much backwards. Spending is backwards. You know, they're going to have to pass another budget come January, or we're going to be back in the same situation for...
No, they're going to have to pass a budget on December 13th.
Oh, is it 13th?
December 13th.
Oh, okay. I thought it was January 13th.
Yeah, they're not gonna make the deadline.
And I saw something on Facebook. Someone posted, they're like, I can't believe there are actually people that are blaming Obama for the shutdown that we had.
I know, right?
Trying to say that it was all the Republicans' fault, and I got on there and I was like, why is it so hard to believe?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, now that he's spent all our money, it is pretty necessary for the Republicans to approve, you know, for us to take more loans out. But that doesn't change the fact that he's the one that spent all our money.
And then after the shutdown,
we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place.
And then after the shutdown,
it's clearly his fault.
Right. And then after the shutdown, he went and did everything that we wanted him to do to avoid the shutdown. That's the crazy part. Like I said, I know the last time I was in D.C., I got the privilege of meeting John Boehner, and it was awesome because it was in an environment. It was the Republican National Committee or Republican National Club, and it was kind of cool because it's where he goes every night, like a cheers for him, you know. And I walked up to him because I know that he gets a lot of backslide, but I thought he did a really good job in this, and I thought that he stood his ground in allowing the shutdown to move forward. And I just wanted to let him know that on that particular issue, because I know he gets a lot of flack from people, and he was like, he shook my hand, he was like, well, thank you so much for that, you know. And it was just, and Ted Cruz got such a bad rap for that, because all the Republicans came down so hard on him, saying that, you know, you're the cause of our bad name now, and all, whatever it is that they were saying negatively towards him. But he's the only guy in that whole damn Congress that stood up, or Senate, that stood up for the constituents that voted him in. And we need more people to do that, to do what they're elected to do. When they run a campaign, it's their duty to go to the Hill and do what they said they were going to do.
Right.
Sorry, I'll get off my high horse.
No, that's good. You're good. I'm about to step away for a second and refresh my little cup here, and I'll be back.
Yeah, refresh mine too.
All right, so that's all for the Val Emmons Show. And if you want to check us out live, I'm sure Casey will be posting this sometime. Is he recording this, Matt? Okay. Okay. So he's recording it, so you can go to, I'll post it on my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Val Emmons, or you can send me a tweet at Val Emmons, and I'll post this on my page so you can see the rest of it. Have a good night.